beings appear in the history of life. All of a sudden, 50 different animal groups. All phyla. Phyla means different animal groups based on the body structure. For example, arthropods and chordata or crustaceans. According to the body structure, 50 different animal groups appear all of a sudden in the history of life. And they decrease with time actually. Today we have only 35 according to the scientists. They have no ancestors and they have very complex systems such as the eyes, the gills, and blood circulation. Richard Dawkins, again, he admits the fact with these words: the Cambrian strata of rocks are the oldest ones in which we find most of the major invertebrate groups. And we find many of them already in an advanced state of evolution. The very first time they appeared, it is as though they were just planted there without any evolutionary history. He says, without any evolutionary history, they appear all of a sudden. And remember what Charles Darwin said? If life appears all of a sudden in the history of life, that will be a fatal stroke. And this fatal stroke, that fact, destroys Darwinism. And let me show you. This was the expectation of Darwinism. A tree-like structure in the fossil evidence. First, a single cell would appear billions of years ago, and this cell would diversify all the species we have, like a tree. And this is real fossil evidence. This line represents the Cambrian period. 540 million years ago, this line represents. There were only 3 phylums, which means 3 basic multicellular animals such as cnidarians or poriferians were existing before. 3 animal groups, but they were different than the Cambrian animals. And 50 different, these line represents basic animal groups, different animal groups. 50 of them appeared all of a sudden without any evolution, and in fact, they decrease with time to 35. So you see how the real fossil evidence is different from the expectations of Darwinism. So fossil evidence from the Cambrian period destroys Darwinism, defeats Darwinism again. And Allah says in the Quran, the originator of the heavens and earth, when He decides on something, He just says to it be, and it is. Slide please. What about the mythical transition from water to land? You know, evolutionists claim that the sea animals will emerge onto the land and will transform. For example, the fish will transform into reptiles. That's the allegation of Darwinism. Now, I will explain why this is scientifically and logically impossible. Of course, that kind of creatures, they never lived in the past. The sea animals, the fish and the reptiles have completely different systems. For example, fish have fins, of course, and these fins, these should transform into feet to be a land animal. Fish breathe by their gills. That's a very complex organs to breathe underwater, and those should turn into lung to be a land animal. Weight-carrying systems of fishes adapted to live in water, and this should be adapted to live on land. The metabolisms of fish are adapted to live in water. This should be adapted to live on land. And these complex changes have to occur at the same time in the same animal. All these changes. Of course, this is impossible. If you take up the fish out of the water, they die in a few minutes. Everybody knows that. You can try this for trillions of years, trillions of times. They will always die. For example, the lung is a perfect organ. These structures can provide only benefit to an organism if they are fully formed. A structure which lacks any of the characteristics of a perfect lung will be of no benefit to a lung creature. Since natural selection is unable to calculate that fish will shortly emerge onto the land and will therefore need a lung, and the lung therefore need to undergo many changes waiting for the accumulation of the alterations, it will not select those changes. The fish will always die, and the fossil evidence confirms this fact. Fish are created as fish, and land animals are created as land animals. What about the original birds? The birds they have very complex aerodynamic skills, perfect creatures. According to Darwinism, these are from Darwinist sources, these illustrations. Darwinists claim that the huge theropod dinosaurs, which are 12 meters long, by chasing the flies You see dinosaurs chasing a fly over here and trying to catch it with their front legs. Well, eventually their front legs will transform into wings and they will start to fly. These tons weigh 12 meters long, theropod dinosaurs. And you know what they call this? This with a Latin name, a cursorial theory, to make it look like scientific. So some of them, they didn't like this, the other Darwinists. They developed another allegation. They called this arboreal theory. The dinosaurs, they said, which were jumping from trees to trees, they transformed into birds and they started to fly. So this is so irrational, illogical and unscientific explanation. Now I want you to pay attention over here. They're trying to make an explanation for the original flight, right? However, one of these objects, the flies, are already flying. You know, flies are perfect, they have perfect systems. They can beat their wings 1,000 times a second. This is 1 second, in 1 second, 1,000 times. They have a very complex flying technique, which is not, has been shown the exact mechanism of their flying techniques yet. So basically, if you ask Darwinists how the flies, the insects, they fly, no answer, of course. Alan Feluccia, he's, again, the most prominent ornithologist of the world. Ornithologist means the bird scientist, and he's a Darwinist. He's from the University of South Carolina. Feluccia said, the resemblance of Archaeopteryx to the theropod dinosaurs has been grossly overestimated because Darwinists claim Archaeopteryx is a so-called transitional forms between theropod dinosaurs and the birds. However, Archaeopteryx has been shown to be a modern bird with perfect flying ability. So Feluccia confirms this fact. He said Archaeopteryx to the resemblance to theropod dinosaurs is overestimated. And also Feluccia says, well, I have studied bird skulls for 25 years. He is a researcher. For 25 years he studied these bird skulls. And I don't see any similarities whatsoever. I just don't see it. The theropod and dinosaur suborder, origins of birds, in my opinion, will be the greatest embarrassment of the paleontology of the 20th century. He said it will be the greatest embarrassment. Of course, there aren't any transitional forms. No evolution. Who are the ancestors of sea mammals? Now, sea mammals are very cute animals, dolphins, whales. For example, there are whales which are 30 meters long and they weigh more than 60 tons. Huge and very nice creatures. So, if you ask Darwinists, what is the ancestor, what could be the ancestor of whales? Of course, there is no such land animal, because land animals are small. There is no land animal which is 30 meters long or weighs 60 tons. Of course, dinosaurs are not considered because dinosaurs are reptiles. You know what Charles Darwin, how he tried to explain this allegation? He said, bears are the ancestor of whales. This is from his book, Original Species, from the first publication of Original Species. He said, I can see no difficulty in a race of bears being rendered by natural selection more and more aquatic in their habits with larger and larger mouths till a creature was produced as monstrous as a whale. He says, the bears, by going to hunting to the sea, by opening their mouths more and more, they transform these huge whales in the sea. And, of course, his followers of Charles Darwin, they did not like this. They found this very illogical, and that was removed from the following publications of his books. But he still defended these ideas in his letters. Well, we made this to help them out. Half mammal, half whale. Of course, that kind of creatures, they never lived in the past. Allah created sea mammals as sea mammals, and land mammals as land mammals. And now some fossils, real fossils. We have 300 million fossils today. For example, this is a amber fossil, or ant fossil, which is 100 million years old, exactly the same of today's ants. No evolution. The dragonfly fossil you see over here, this is a dragonfly fossil. You see a dragonfly, a living dragonfly, exactly the same, no change, which means no evolution. A bat fossil, which is 50 million years old, exactly the same. The bats appear in the history of life all of a sudden with their perfect and complete